All right, go for it. Sorry.
No. So this is a meeting on Jakarta and microprofile messaging. Please add your name to the contributor list at the top of the agenda document. I'm not going to belabor the review of the March 23rd meeting minutes. They are attached at the bottom of this agenda document. I don't think there's any rules for approval of minutes or anything of this sort, so I'll just note that there were minutes captured from the last meeting. So the goal for this meeting and the process we're going through is to obtain approval for 2 documents by the Jakarta EE and MicroProfile steering committees, ideally in the April timeframe. There's both a messaging document, which is this document, and a presentation, which is this document. At the
Can I
end,
interrupt one more time, please? Again, and Will, I apologize. I just noticed that someone was trying to log in and didn't realize they need a free account for this. So if anyone else knows someone trying, that was planning to be here, just feel free to reach out and say they'll need a free account to join the call. So sorry about that. Continue, Will.
Okay, I'm getting a request to zoom in. Is that better?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So at the end of last meeting, we took some action items on messaging slides. So I'd like to review those. So I took an action to fix this slide, which had old Java EE API acronyms. So I have updated that slide. I think I've got all of the current Jakarta EE APIs with the proper names. I've added one name here, stable. So I think all the Jakarta EE names are appropriate and current. There was also a piece of feedback that annotations is used by MicroProfile. So I think this slide is updated. If anybody has comments or issues with it, please let me know if anything occurs to you immediately, or just feel free to add comments into the deck.
Is this intended to be stuff that are included in the platform or just in our ecosystem in general?
This is intended to be a what looks like a reasonably comprehensive list of EE APIs, and those that are used in those that are used in MicroProfile. And similarly on the MicroProfile side, those that are used in MicroProfile usage of Jakarta EE APIs. Does that answer the question?
So that was the second one, just our APIs in general, not necessarily ones that are in the platform. Because there's NoSQL on there, and if we're going to include NoSQL on there, we should include MVC.
I see.
Or if we're going to take the perspective of we're only including platform APIs, then neither NoSQL or MVC should be.
I think to be honest, David, I don't know what list I was reviewing. I think that list probably included NoSQL, but not MVC. So I cannot explain why one is present and the other is not present. So
either perspective is fine. We should just pick a perspective. And
how about what if does anybody really care about stable?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm answering for everybody, but I doubt it.
Oh, look,
I was confused about stable. Why stable was there?
Yeah, get rid of that.
Okay, I'll replace stable with MVC. How's that? And
sounds good.
Turns out I've created this in PowerPoint, and I'm doing lots of cutting, and rather than recreate all this in Google Docs, I'll fix it later.
Yeah,
okay,
that's cool. You got an image there, so you won't be able to edit it right here.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, thank you. All right, so that was one action item. So I'll change stable to MVC, and then I also took an item to attempt to represent that we have what I've called a shared specification process framework, with the benefit being that we produce clean IP that can be consumed by implementations and end users. So that's my slide. And I don't see Dan here, who suggested the slide and promised me feedback on it, but did not provide it. But comments on this one?
I have a quick comment on the picture. We will be slightly, I know where this picture comes from, and I have to thank you for creating this slide, because we noticed, I noticed there is a little bit of a problem there. Okay. So the plan, the plan is an artifact, and we will be changing the picture to reflect that. So once that change is made, or in the slide, we will change the shape there into more ovalish, kind of similar to the proposal. I'm not sure how to name that shape right now, but I know where the fix is, and I will certainly be happy to help you out with that.
When would you expect? Are you expect to having that in like within a week or so, or? Yes,
I do expect that will happen. So if easier, you can assign it to me, and whenever it pops up, I will update or whatever works.
I'm happy to wait. I'm happy to wait for it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right. So those were my action items. So we also were going to update the implementation slide. Oh, it looks like we've got something. Here we go. Look at this. Who created these slides? These look nice.
That was Ryan on our team.
Hey.
With some input from me. So, so there it is. So I 2 footnotes on there. So to address your concern, Will, we put a footnote on there that says clearly Tommy's not certified. We also put a footnote on there on the MicroProfile side of the fence that we don't actually have a compatible implementations program yet. So nothing there has filed any certification requests. So that should cover it. And that's everybody's implementations.
Is Glassfish on there, not on there for a reason?
Oh, that is not intentional. I'm the one who came up with the list. Well, that should be definitely there.
Okay.
Does Glassfish implement the MicroProfile like the PyR server does,
no.
or
no?
Okay.
Ryan, I provided feedback. Do you see the MicroProfile logo and the Jakarta logo? We need to enlarge Jakarta EE to match MicroProfile. Can you fix that, please? Including the boats for both slides. I already added it in the comments. Likely, I don't see them, but can you do this sometime this week?
No problem.
Okay, and it will need to be done in both slides.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
You know, so getting back, well, let's go on to the next one. These are nice. Thank you, Ryan. These are nice slides.
And same format here.
Yeah. Now, if we only had one member over here, they'd be really big.
I thought so too.
I didn't know about this, the Garden State Java user group. That's cool.
Yeah, they formed.
Also, there's okay. There's I think that's good. iJaga is also listed there in the central. I missed it earlier. Thank you.
Is this I don't know, Tanya, I think you might be the expert from a Jakarta EE perspective. Is this comprehensive and current?
I'll double check, but it certainly looks like it is.
Okay.
iJag should be on both sides, and I don't.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. It's there in the middle.
Oh yeah, they're in the middle. Thank you, Amelia.
Yep. They're in the we're in both groups circle, center circle.
Something that is missing here is the new Jack that joined the Jakarta IE working group last week. And
actually, Amelia, that's not yet. That didn't come through yet.
Oh, okay. We're waiting for the contract.
Didn't come through yet.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't necessarily need to disclose, but yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I guess I was just mentioning that it's fine.
So, so these are great. So, so we'll make Amelia, if you want to drop that comment in there, that's fine. But
I did. I don't see my comments. I literally wrote them yesterday in both pages.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So so what do you, I think it might be good if these were, if this graphic looked like these. Does anybody have an opinion about that?
If which graphic what?
If this graphic.
Yes.
Look like that? Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd be happy we'd be happy to go in there and give it a try.
Did glasses get put in there right now? Wow. Excellent.
That's Will's power.
You guys are awesome.
That was Ryan. Yeah.
Just look at that. Bang. Wow, that was fast.
I was just like editing while listening.
Oh, that was Tetiana.
Nice. Usually I do several tasks
in a range.
Yeah.
So
my sincere apologies for that. Was not intentional. That was definitely not any kind of passive aggressive anything. I don't know how I missed that.
So listen to this. And this slide was created nicely, like the original one, like fixing it by Tetiana, and then Will went in and also fixed it. One of the reasons why I felt that we needed to wait for this call to show you what we have done with the other two is because it would be nice to scale and have everything be alike. And if everyone is not offended and you allow us to work on having the same circular Venn diagram, I think the message will read better for the viewer. Who disagrees?
If you're happy to do that, sounds fine with me.
Yeah, it looks good in this way, so surely.
Okay. Ryan,
no
do I need to write a comment?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
No, I'll take care of it.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Moving on.
All right, excellent. Okay, so any additional proposed slides? So Amelia has replied in the agenda document.
Mm-hmm. Click that. Will.
I also have, we also, it's not the notes, but last week we also discussed updating a slide.
Yes.
Did we? I
think it was slide 4. It's not there right now on the screen, but.
Did you add that slide, John?
No, this slide was here. And this gets back into the synergy comment that was modified on slide 5. It's, because not every implementation, the point I brought up last call is not every implementation implements both. So when you talk about combination, it can be parsed multiple ways.
I'm not following.
Slide 4.
Yeah. I'm super lost, John.
See a powerful combination, right? Last week we discussed, or last call, we discussed changing that title.
Yes, synergy, powerful synergy.
Using a word like synergy.
Yes, and I changed it in the document, John, and I thought it was changed here. That's my bad. I was following your lead on this one, and we lost translation. Can you change it directly here and say a powerful synergy because we're not a combined project? It's changed in the document. You can see it someplace there. I think is below there, synergy, right? And I just missed the mark bringing it to the slides. So my bad.
I think that is awkward English.
I am not native, but synergy is what we talked about when we accepted to work with CN4J as not a project, but something that would enable both projects to communicate more clearly how we are very aligned And we have used Synergy across those 2 hours conversations that were private. And Synergy.
Maybe then collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration or ecosystem.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's better.
And one other thing on this slide, and I saw it somewhere else. I'll bring up another point later. But MicroProfile innovates, so it's that second sub-bullet. MicroProfile innovates using a set of Jakarta EE APIs and cloud native technologies. I would actually say Jakarta APIs as opposed to Jakarta EE.
Do we drop that? John, is the branding okay for us to drop Jakarta EE to directly be Jakarta APIs?
I think the proper term is Jakarta EE APIs.
Correct.
Well, there's a reason, because if you think about Jakarta EE, it's a spec that aggregates a bunch of other Jakarta APIs, right? MicroProfile selects some of those APIs and uses those as well. So it's not necessarily Jakarta EE, right? Just like.
So I can imagine that might be, I can imagine that opinion. I'm looking now for, there are pages here which describe Jakarta EE specifications. I don't know.
Yeah, if you were on it. If you go back, yeah, that link really should be in the upper top. Yes, in the middle. Click the specifications. So I mean, to John's point, the only spec that's called EE is the platform, and web profile. The rest of them are called like Jakarta activation, not Jakarta EE activation.
Then John is correct.
Well, I mean, so we have a registered trademark on Jakarta, so we can use the bare word Jakarta anywhere we'd like, and we do. So, you know, it's just up to us what we feel we want to do.
Now I feel that we need to change a little bit the trademarks because now it doesn't match what we wrote in 2018.
I don't know about that. We registered Jakarta, so we had the flexibility to use it as the prefix whenever we wanted, and we deliberately did that so we didn't always have to put EE on everything. That's why Jakarta activation is called Jakarta activation and not Jakarta EE activation. And Will, you're clicking around so much, you're making me seasick.
Sorry, because I'm looking for the page which shows Jakarta EE APIs, and I can't find it now.
I mean, you've been on the page, but you don't seem to like the page. Can you flip backwards?
No, I can understand that you might believe that to be the case, but that
I don't know what page you have in your mind. That I guess I'll say it that way.
Obviously, and I'm looking for it. So please don't tell me what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Okay, so I guess we disagree. So I think Jakarta EE is appropriate because that is the branding for the Jakarta EE working group, and Jakarta EE as a platform, and I believe for the APIs themselves. So what is the benefit, John, of dropping EE?
Because many projects use individual specifications without consuming the entire platform, right? So, Quarkus is one, Spring is another, right? Spring could say that they support Jakarta specifications, but not support Jakarta EE specifications.
Yeah, I consider them to be using Jakarta EE specifications.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to the usage or the context. I mean, I think it in general yes, they're all Jakarta EE APIs, but I think what John is pointing out, and David, when you look at our specifications page, all of the individual specifications that make up the Jakarta EE platform, they're all just Jakarta annotations, Jakarta MVC, Jakarta blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's what John is getting at, is that, you know, whether it's MicroProfile or some of the other implementations, they are only dependent on the individual specifications and not the whole Jakarta EE platform. I think that's what they're trying to differentiate.
Yeah, if you think in a forward-looking manner, what this also implies is that any specification created under Jakarta, even if it's not intended to be a part of the Jakarta EE platform, would still be referenced as Jakarta EE. I mean, that's where it gets a little bit confusing on my part, you know, when that begins to happen. So by separating it out as Jakarta APIs and Jakarta EE, the platform, it's pretty clear that Jakarta EE consumes Jakarta specifications, but not necessarily, again, forward-looking, every single Jakarta specification that might be done under the Jakarta project.
So John, that is super fantastic. Let's adjust the slides. And is there a way for us to document within the Jakarta EE? You know, we have the documentation and there is nowhere documented. We need to update the website, send us get to issue. I mean, I can help you on that.
I don't know that any websites need to be updated because we're not using it in any inconsistently at the moment. There's nothing to be fixed, right? So we already do call the individual specs Jakarta spec, you know, Jakarta this, Jakarta that.
Then
I'm still interested to hear from Will's from Will on the topic, but I would say that what you mentioned, John, in terms of that's the page that you're looking for.
Yeah. So I guess from my perspective, and by the way, obviously I'm in the minority, if not by myself. I think the primary brand that the Jakarta EE working group is promoting is Jakarta EE. So we should have Jakarta EE projects, Jakarta EE specifications. But I guess I'm alone.
I mean, we don't call it Jakarta EE1.
True. It's true.
What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, I mean,
conference.
The conference. We call it Jakarta 1. We freely use both. You know, I'm personally okay using either.
Okay, all right.
And
so,
you know,
there's nobody endorsing me, so there's no point in further discussion. So let's move on.
So the final point is that we are going to use Jakarta APIs without EE?
Yes, without the EE. John, good job. And Kevin too.
Was there any other modification to this slide, John?
I think at this point, that's probably okay. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts.
I added no vendor lock-in. And if no one, you know, may English, if you see anything wrong with it, adjust it.
That's a fine point.
Okay.
So I think also one member is missing on the slide, whatever it is, 7 for Jakarta EE.
Tanya, can you add a comment?
London Jack.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, I'll for sure do that.
Thank you so much.
I'm just mentioning because someone was really agile. So just in the case there is a room for agility, just to mention, London Jamoka community is missing.
Yeah.
Who is missing? Can you just
yeah I'll do that. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on. So additional slides. So Amelia, you had proposed adding 2 slides to messaging.
Because messaging is super important. And my recommendation is from last week, from last call to now, the recommendation was to add differences are the strengths of the project themselves. After the debug slides 1 and 2, we must add the differences between the two because we have not, the messaging currently doesn't say why there are 2 projects. In the message goal that we have is to explain why MicroProfile didn't go under Jakarta EE. And I went in, and can you please click on the difference in our strengths sheets? Because I copy paste, but the sheets are the current. Thank you so much, Will. And then if you can enlarge it, everyone can see. Clearly, I think we will need to be cut some words and make it nicer. But this data or similar data is not exhausted, but it's a good start.
I don't know that that level of detail is appropriate.
It's not necessary, but we need something. We can do everything in one slide, which will be great. We just need to pick and choose what do we want to put, because everything is true, but what is important, right?
So I don't think any of those levels of details are really appropriate for this type of presentation, but I do think that we should have some very minimal differences, just because people have said, well, I can't understand why there are 2, and they perceive it as needless duplication. And if we don't address that they have a strategic way to fit together, you know what I mean, that there are things we do differently, then people will be still left wondering why there are 2, and they'll see it as needless duplication. And in fact, the presentation that we've put together where we show how much is the same will reinforce their perspective that they see it as needless duplication.
Correct.
So this would be a shift in strategy up to this point, because when we first kind of started this out, it was to focus on the things that are to stay away from any kind of controversy, right?
This is not a controversy, John. Sorry to interrupt you.
Hold on, let John finish. I want to hear what he has to say.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, so and not necessarily saying it's controversial, but anything that can be, we're trying to focus on, how do I say this, the alignment aspect. So all I'm pointing out, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but it would be a shift in strategy based on the past conversations, and I'll end there.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we discussed this last time, and there were concerns, raised by IBM and Oracle, and I think the consensus. I think there were other comments saying, let's focus on what the strengths we share, or if I could look up what the agreement was in the minutes, but what we do in combination, and let's not focus on differences. So is there anything that has changed from last week's conversation?
I think we had different opinions on this even last call. So some people suggested to highlight differences. Actually, I was one of them. And just one additional question: is this message focused internally or externally? I mean, like, for who is the main target for this message? Both user groups or even people outside? I mean, like end users.
From my perspective, it's ultimately end users.
I agree.
That's a good.
Yeah. Then it will be, because users always want to see like which one solution I want to use, like, and what is the difference for me? Like, okay, they work together, it's good, like, but still, like, why I should choose one except another one? Like, I don't think maybe like all details described here is necessary to highlight, because maybe there are too many, like, government things related, like how it's managed project inside, but maybe more technical, like, or like, I don't know, like some agility, like, so maybe one is moving more faster, and another one is more like stability focused, like, so, but some differences for sure will be helpful for end customers to see.
Ruslan,
my opinion, just my opinion.
I agree that if we would specify, if we wanted to document some technical differences, I would go along with that, because the end users, they want to know well, which of these projects or both of these projects satisfy their needs from a technical perspective. But I don't want to go into the differences in how each of the groups manage their, you know, their process, their marketing, their branding, whatever.
Yeah, I agreed on that. Like, I don't think those details are important to
I agree
people.
I agree to, like, so we don't need to go like all these details, like, you know.
Yeah,
like,
and everyone, I love this because I just showed you quickly. It took me not even 5 minutes to write this down. We need to pick and choose. But the plan that I understood when we were talking privately is that without showing the differences as a strength and answering why there are two groups, any messaging, especially the first one, will be a failure because it will reinforce the confusion as to why we fought for a full year in the microprofile side to be independent from the Jakarta working group. And one of the things that personally I do not want us to go into is having to defend the independence of the microprofile project. That will be failure from everyone involved in the creation of this messaging. So I want to be very sure that we understand what concessions we provide. And if we are able to add slide number 4 with something technical, I don't really care, that puts attention to why there are two groups, then, you know, that will make it much more complete.
So maybe it's a kind of also, I agree, I think for budget, membership, and government, we can strike them off. And for the other things that we target, like big user groups, such as the MicroProfile, maybe it's for the lightweight users and etc. And Jakarta EE and MicroProfile, and then maybe it's kind of the, yeah, so some heavy user and particular focus on some different use case and etc. I think if I think is for the rest budget stuff and etc. is valuable for our internal use. I do agree. I think and the user probably not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same. And I don't think really that we need to defend right now already why we have two groups. This is like the fact. We have them, and that was like a good decision. And that decision was made like based on specific needs and specific requirements. Right now, I think that for customers and for users and potential members, for them is more interesting how each of these groups can be helpful and how these groups are interacting, how they complement each other, but not how they do something differently totally, like not to oppose the groups, but to show the difference in terms of complementing. Like what kind of projects, what kind of tasks the user can solve with one group, what kind of projects this user can like have with the other group, and like in what way it can be interconnected. This is like similar as we have on the slide number 5 with all those APIs, like one side, what is available on one side, what is available on the other one, and what is available on both sides. Like something of the same, but we need to think about the list of those differences or those, I don't know, use cases maybe, or something of this kind that should be highlighted.
I like use cases. Actually, word use cases is good. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's, but actually this slide and information is even helpful for us, for ourselves. We need to find out, like, okay, like what it is.
Okay, so then who is going to volunteer to make the slides? For it needs to be located after slide 3. We have two dukes, the two projects, and then it goes in there about the projects.
Maybe before we do a slide, maybe just a very small Google Doc, just because I think art is difficult.
Yes.
And we probably should not start with art.
Using the folder, anyone can create a document within it and connect it to the agenda and to the document.
Okay, we'll start on something, because I think there does need to be a stronger statement toward the premise that there are two independent working groups, because there's been two events in the past week that in my view, are not consistent with that. And one was the reply that Ariane made to Emily in her response. The other is an Eclipse Foundation post where they're talking about CN4J, and our view on the post is that it was kind of skewed to favor Jakarta as opposed to seeing these as peers, and they actually referenced one of our products without any discussion.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up as well as my point too. That I was going to bring up later. So yeah, but that is problematic, I think.
It's not only problematic, it bothers me heavily. So this is why I created this thing. And this is why, since before those problems occurred, I already saw them coming miles away. And now we have proof. So Scott, thank you so much, because like it matters. And John, you too. When you say it bothers me, you didn't say it, but I can say it because I did the work on this. I was really bothered when I did this.
So what should be the next step?
Who will own writing? Scott, do you want to volunteer to write the documents and within the drive?
John and I will.
Perfect. Let's move forward with that. I'm happy. You don't see my face, but I'm smiling. Thank you.
Your image is.
Well, you can hear my smile, and it's just, I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully we can make happy end customers too.
Exactly, Ruslan.
I mean, you know, most internal customers have like an R&D team and then like a production team, and there might be same people on both teams, but they're asking the teams to do different things. And I think it's understandable if we can phrase it in a way that they can see their own behavior matches what we're doing. Anyway, I love to see what you guys put together, and I'm sure I'll have thoughts and feedback. I just want to generally point out that differences were in the original proposal.
Yes.
You added differences.
That was in the original proposal that we both agreed on and put forward to.
So
to people.
So there was just so that these were the notes I took from last time.
And if you go to the original proposal, it's in there. Not from last week, but the original proposal.
Yeah, the document you wrote.
Okay, so just to recap, this was discussed last time. There was discomfort, as I said, in attempting to draw the distinction around things like stability or backward compatibility versus innovation. And I asserted that the consensus was to focus initially on cooperation, powerful combination, and synergy, and not focus on differences. So we'll see. Whoopsie. I don't know what's going on there.
I think you just need to log in.
Somebody took your access away.
I guess I love the idea. Can I have access?
It said your session expired.
We'll see what you guys come up with. All right. Are there any other topics that? I had suggested that we go back and look at the messaging document. I guess my preference would be just to defer that discussion until we agree on the slides. We've been spending most of our time talking about the slides. I think if we can agree on the slides, we can just update the messaging document to match it. Does that make sense to others?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Bill. The message, the current document is a mess.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything else for today's meeting?
Yeah, I added a agenda. If you go back to the top.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you finished? Oh, okay, finished. So basically, the school and I put a proposal forward. So we just drafted a proposal regarding move MicroProfile config to Jakarta EE, and also keep the MicroProfile namespace. So basically, we start from the socializing here and get some feedback, and we will keep on working on the doc. So if you click on the proposal there.
But just if I could make a procedural comment, the purpose of this meeting is to cover messaging. And I'm okay with talking about this if using the time to talk about this. Does anybody have anything else for the purposes of messaging?
Well, I think the relevant piece toward messaging is how we describe how decisions that affect both platforms are made. You know, we had a conversation or an item to that effect, which is what this proposal is trying to follow. But I think that was one thing that was missing from these slides is how business gets done. That's joint in nature.
Okay. So do you think that that needs to be added to the slides? I don't personally.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, it's what exactly is.
Scott, can you expand?
Pardon?
Can you expand what you mean? For some reason, I don't understand you.
Expand on.
To me, the slides are a little bit too shallow in terms of, again, addressing some of the points of confusion, and one of them is how decisions are made, or what, you know, because again, there is no authority in the CN4J Alliance. So when disputes arise, when there's conflicting views, you know, what's the mechanism by which the CN4J Alliance mediates that or has any impact on that? I think that is an important feature that needs to be in the messaging.
Oh, you're right.
I don't think we should be presenting to external audiences how we, you know, resolve conflicts. My belief is that that is more relevant to people who are participating in both communities and are working on proposals like moving MicroProfile config to Jakarta EE. I think that's a couple levels below what we need to promote externally.
I tend to feel the same.
However, I mean, if there's a dispute between these two groups, surely there's some is a kind of ideal candidate for CN4J to have a broader conversation, right? So otherwise, what does CN4J do then? Is kind of we propose some message, and then, I mean, what a benefit of that?
Oh, so I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying we didn't sell the CN4J in the slide deck. We don't mention why
it is not our intention to sell CN4J in the slide deck. That is not the goal. The goal is to say we have complementary technologies.
So basically, yeah. So basically, for further to showing we have complementary technologies and etc. So this is kind of to use some concrete use case to see how can we implement that concrete
Okay. But just to be clear, so note that the purpose of one of the main purposes of a messaging document was to show how to illustrate that we can make decisions, and we have decided to focus on a very bounded problem, which is messaging. And I don't want to make resolution of that messaging contingent on resolution of this particular question. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That does make sense to me.
if I understand you correctly, so basically you don't, basically it's kind of, it's better like to say, how can we like move one spec from one community, like from MicroProfile to Jakarta. So is that kind of the come up with a message instead of looking at like a detailed problem? So for this message, so it's the kind of the, if I come up with a message, is okay, how can we make specification to be used, lifted out from one, from MicroProfile and utilized by both community. So what a message are we going to tell, I mean, to both community?
Probably none at this moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I have a suggestion. Scott, how do you feel? Because we started the presentation with MicroProfile and Jakarta Cloud Native for Java Alliance, right? How do you feel if we were to add a link here or something that will pull viewers to the minutes of the CN4J and how it was created?
This does not talk about CN4J, just to be clear. The word alliance, it does. It does.
Either we remove it.
I think we should delete this.
Delete this, because that is a problem. I just went through it, and Scott has something, he hit the nail on things we didn't see. If we leave it there, then we need to talk about it. That means either by a link, bringing the viewer to the minutes that are under the external drive for MicroProfile that anyone has access. And I recommend we delete this. Otherwise, we will need to work on adding a slide or doing some work, because Scott is right, and Emily also. I will say delete and move forward.
I mean, I think, yeah, we can delete it. But the thing is, if we don't solve particular problems, and then is what's the benefit of this CN4J alliance? I thought this is kind of mutual.
So for example, one benefit is to create a deck, which both working groups agree to, that describes how the two initiatives combined provide benefits to the community, and that there is synergy between these two initiatives, and that users should not see these as competing initiatives. And I think that delivers benefit by positioning both initiatives in a more positive manner. And by the way, Emily, I'm totally supportive of evaluating technical problems in addition to creating a high-level messaging document now, but I don't want to make delivery of a messaging document contingent upon resolution of the specific technical proposal you're making.
Beautifully said.
Right, or even documenting what this proposal, the resolution of this proposal would entail. I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Will, that this was supposed to be a high-level messaging document and presentation. And I don't think we need to get into the detail of how we resolve APIs and projects between the two.
Yeah, it's not about a specific proposal. It's about the general agreement that there is a process by which this collaboration has teeth. I mean, my concern is, again, this is too shallow and essentially a fluff piece that the critics on either side are just going to look at this and dismiss it as nonsense.
Well, I do think the differences will help with that.
Yes.
Strategic differences that are complementary and make us all stronger. You know what I mean? If we can keep it positive, right? So people can see some vision there. I think that will address a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly improves it. So I mean, that may be sufficient.
In terms of how we actually operate. I don't think we know yet, to be honest. And so therefore, I
no,
would
but
feel,
again,
I think we do though, right? We have agreed to a process.
yeah, I mean,
There are
there's
two sponsors for proposals, and then there is work done within the communities to come up with consensus or not. And those proposals are brought to each steering committee.
Then do we put that in a slide?
Yes, not in a slide.
I do not think we should. I do not think that is relevant for external marketing. It may be very relevant to, to people who are putting forward technical proposals within the groups, but I do not think that is the purpose of this marketing messaging document.
Yeah, for external customers, it doesn't make sense, honestly. From my point of view.
Right, exactly.
So can we delete from the first page cloud native? I
think we should.
Can we delete it, please? Because I see this in Scat. Thank you so much. You are such a critical thinker. And can we enlarge the 2021 to make it like maybe 20 fonts or something like awesome? Yes. And then if we make it really large like that, there is nothing else. And also a reminder of everyone, since the call is recorded, we did mention in the first call that the CN4J might not be the name for this kind of thing. Once we start applying more of how we work together and the level of more complications, then we might change the name to something else. So we need to be worried. We need to be careful of adding stuff early on documentation that will not be as scalable. One of the things that we said about this document, it needs to last more than a month, more than a year. And we can modify it, but names and trademarks are complicated and are complicated. I think it's good.
So I guess, so Emily and Scott, do you want, I'm considering the topic of the messaging document closed. Do you want to use the 5 minutes remaining to talk about this proposal?
No, I don't think this is the right audience, and we really need the counter proposal as well, before we can have an adequate discussion on it. I mean, it really was more about, is there a point that this has for the messaging document was the question.
I see.
No, it doesn't.
Do you think that, so when I described what I thought was my understanding of how decisions are made, was that?
Yeah, that was essentially what I understood.
Yeah, that's accurate. What I was really referring to is, well, we haven't really come across any technical use cases yet. So we haven't really lived our rules until you've actually applied them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. But this is a technical use case though.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So could we use the technical use case validate against the rules?
So, certainly, yeah. So if you have a proposal, yes, then it is. Yes, bring it forward. Yes.
So perhaps I'm still get lost. So it's I understand like the message currently you are discussing is kind of is nearly end. And then it's kind of next stage is we are trying to solve some real problems. So
technical problems.
Yeah, real technical problems.
Marketing is a real problem too.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't see initiating a discussion on this technical proposal as needing to wait until the marketing messaging proposal is finished. I view these as independent discussion topics, related, right, but they can be pursued independently.
Right. So is it because I use a different wrong process to start this new proposal?
No, I'm not saying right or wrong. I just called a meeting or John and I, or David and John and I, called a meeting on messaging. And then you add a technical proposal to the meeting agenda. And just my statement is, that's not the purpose of this particular meeting.
Oh, I see.
I gather Scott felt that in some sense it was because
oh, okay.
Illustrate how we make decisions, and other people felt we don't need to put that in the messaging document.
All right, but I do have, and sorry to interject here, clock 2 minutes. Next meeting.
Do we need another? Oh, probably, I guess.
Can we,
we were going to
cover
cover the differences slide around messaging, and maybe it doesn't need to be an hour, right? But the differences slide, and then a side topic is where does the CN4J technical discussions happen and when, per the proposal doc, for example.
Do we have a member
just before that, right? There is an email discussion on Jakarta platform binding list about that config topic, right? So what I'm suggesting, just put link to the document there, right? Because this proposal is just one proposal, because there are other opinions. And it makes sense that when they have a technical meeting to actually review all the proposals, not only yours, right? So put a link to the mailing list. All the interested parties will reply. We will possibly prepare alternative proposals, and we'll have a meeting to review all of them.
That makes sense.
I
agree.
Dimitri, you're correct. But may I suggest that because there are many mailing lists and it's super confusing in the Jakarta side, we have the CN4J mailing list, and we agreed that is the...
Come on, no one is subscribed at the moment, and this conversation has been started already. It's going on, right? So what's the point of starting a new conversation in another mailing list and people are not there yet? So let's just continue there it was.
But this is the problem. We need to educate anyone that is interested in working on this kind of conversations to understand where the communication happens. If we continue to skip the process, then it's going to lead to not traceability, because the truth is going to be set up everywhere. If we ourselves don't have discipline, how do we expect others to follow through? We must.
Amelia, sorry, it smells like bureaucracy, right? So this conversation was there already, right?
Yes, you are right.
It was there already. Let's just continue it, right? So moving it somewhere else and wherever doesn't make sense.
But I agree, Dimitri, but we need to be careful. I totally agree with you. It happens and it's organic, but then we can bring it to one place, the place that we agreed conversations will happen. It doesn't matter where the conversation is start.
Okay.
All right, but it's perfectly okay for MicroProfiles working group or the Jakarta working group to have discussions amongst themselves
on either list.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely.
On these topics. And they can be brought to the CN4J list for joint discussion. Totally okay.
Yes. Okay. That's what I mean.
So okay, I know we are running out of time. So I think is kind of for next time when you have meeting. So the first part we do the messaging, and then the following part can we
No, not the way. No. There aren't standing CN4J meetings. This is a meeting called for a particular topic and a particular proposal.
Yeah.
Right. So call a different meeting is basically I think was Dimitri's suggestion, and I concur. Just let's set up a meeting to have the topic about config. It'll be titled config. It'll be announced on the CN4J Alliance list. Even if we don't have the discussion there, we should at least announce it on that list so people can attend. And then we would let them know that is a technical topic, and it would be focused on config. And when someone shows up and they want to talk about marketing, you can tell them to take a hike because that's not the focus of the meeting.
Right. Okay.
Or you can tell them to wait until the last 2 minutes. Of the
okay, so we have to go.
I think in that case, we should just list the options and then have a detailed conversation, etc. Anyway, okay, sounds good.
So do I need to schedule a meeting in 2 weeks?
I think we should, yes.
Okay. I will do that and announce it.
Thank you, John.
John, when you do it, yesterday we missed the media for MicroProfile, but I just pushed the, if you push it and it comes a week before, then we can add it through the media. It was too short of a time, so I do ask everyone to please send it on time so we can use proper media to push stuff so anyone can join. It's just nice, a nice half.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.